Today I'll be reading from Aesop's fable, The Tortoise and the Hare. The hare couldn't understand how the tortoise ever accomplished anything. Tell me, demanded the hare as he hopped in circles around the tortoise. How do you get things done? You move so slowly that you hardly move at all. Just look at me. I cover lots of ground every day. To prove it, the hare sprinted across the field and back again before the tortoise could open his mouth. Well, began the tortoise as he considered his answer, it's like this. First of all, I find it much better to plan ahead and then... No time for this, no time, interrupted the hare. In a flash, he was gone. A few days later, the hare happened to meet the tortoise on a mossy rock. Hey there, Mr. Tortoise, shouted the hare, appearing suddenly and giving the tortoise a terrible scare. If you don't watch out, somebody's going to make soup out of you. Oh, replied the tortoise, poking his head out of his shell. You're just mocking me. Besides, I don't believe... And the hare was impatient again. I think what you need is some exercise. It'll start your heart pumping. It'll get your blood moving. Try it. You'll see. Exercise, said the tortoise. Let me think a moment. By exercise, do you mean a race, blurted the hare. I challenge you to a race. And before the tortoise could reply, the date was set. On the morning of the race, everyone turned out to witness the contest of the season. The owl had selected a fair course the night before, and the lion and the frog agreed to judge the race and announce the winner. The tortoise and the hare stood side by side at the starting line. The race was about to begin. The crowd held its breath. A crow sitting in the nearby tree dropped a twig signaling the start. When the twig hit the ground, the racers were off. The shouts and crouts and caws and barks of the crowd were deafening, but the hare was already too far ahead to hear them. The tortoise moved along as fast as he could, which is to say, not very fast at all. But soon he too was well away from the starting line. When the hare reached halfway mark, he turned to look behind him. The tortoise was nowhere in sight. It was almost lunchtime, and the hare thought about making a salad to celebrate his certain victory. He went off in search of carrots and lettuce and whatever else he might find. Meanwhile, the tortoise plodded along, slowly closing the gap between himself and the hare. The whole time he kept his mind on the thought of crossing the finish line. The hare had gathered a huge amount of salad greens for his victory salad, and even went to the trouble of finding tender blossoms. When he had finished the last of his lunch, he returned to the track and dashed a little further ahead. But the sun was high and hot, and the hare was drowsy from such a big meal. Once again, he left the track, this time in search for some shade. Little did he know that the tortoise was behind him just around the bend. There's one thing I have to give the tortoise credit for, thought the hare as he drifted off to sleep. Since he carries his house with him, he can get shade whenever he wants. The tortoise pressed onward, not even realizing that he was passing the hare. He's nowhere in sight, the tortoise thought, but the race isn't over until it's over. Like the hare, the tortoise was also feeling tired from the sun, but he kept his goal in mind. One thing I have to give the hare credit for, he said to himself. At least he doesn't have to carry his home with him wherever he goes. No wonder he can move so fast. The tortoise kept moving, and the hare dreamed about victory. A while later, the tortoise began to hear the friendly sounds of animals chirping, cawing, and growling, and he realized that he was nearing the finish line. As he cleared the top of the hill, he could see the crowd at the bottom. The crowd saw him too and began to cheer. In his dreams, the hare thought of cheers were for him, But suddenly he awoke and he realized the race was not yet won. He jumped up and dashed for the finish line. He reached the top of the last hill just in time to see the tortoise win. And the moral of the story is that slow and steady wins the race.